Hey everyone. Edit that out. Hey everyone who's interested in learning how to deploy their websites. I'm going to run through an example today. I've done almost no preparation for this, so we'll see how well it goes. But basically what we want to do is take a completed website, possibly the one that you just did for your final, and get it onto the web. So I'll show you how you can do that. So what we need to do is find what's called a web hosting service, and a web host is just a company or a service that provides the technology and functionality that you need to get your website onto the web. So they have their own servers or they use someone else's servers, and then we can deploy our website and it'll be live. So there are a number of web servers. I can write down a few here. So we're just starting a new project here. So some web hosts, I should say, not servers. You may have heard of GoDaddy, DigitalOcean, Amazon Web Services. These are just a few of the ones that I've used. There's an unlimited number. I really like Netlify. That's the one that I use for my personal website just because it makes things really easy to set up. AWS is good, but it requires a lot of technical skills. Same with DigitalOcean. So you'll probably want something more on the... Actually, GoDaddy kind of sucks. You want something probably on like the Netlify range, unless you're really interested in learning how servers work, in which case definitely, this one's probably a good one. There's a lot of documentation here, but for today we're going to use Netlify. Okay, so let's think what we want to do first. We'll get a little project going, so I'm just going to make index.html. Just doesn't have to be fancy. My deployed website. Alright, that's pretty much all we're going to do. I'll add a style. See how that looks. Okay, and so I have this saved on my desktop in something called deployment example. Okay, so that's all it's going to be. There we go. Alright, so we have to get our website into a format that Netlify is going to want. So there are two ways you can do this. One is easier than the other, one is better than the other, I would say. I shouldn't say better, it depends on what you're doing, but I like to have all of my projects stored as Git projects, because then if you use something like Netlify, you can set it up so that every time you make a change and you push your code as part of this Git process, then it'll automatically update your website. You don't have to do anything other than just update your code. And that's how I do it for our class website, or for my personal website. So I'll do that one first. If you don't want to learn Git, you can just skip ahead to the next section, but it's a good skill to have. Alright, so first you need a Git account, and just go to github.com. There are like some other ones, like I think GitLab or Bitbucket. This is probably one of the more popular ones. But you can go there and make an account, and then once you do, I'm on my profile page. You can go to repositories here, or hit this plus sign, new repository, and then you just give it a name. So this one is deployment example, an example website to show how deployments work. And then you can choose if it's public or private, whether you want anyone else looking at it. And then you can, if you want to do any of this, you can. Otherwise, just say create repository. Okay, so it gives you some commands to get started here, and we're actually going to use those. So if you're making a new repository, which in this case we are, we're going to be running some of these. So back to your code editor. If you're on a Mac, you want to open Terminal. If you're on Windows, I like to use git bash. So yeah, one thing you would have to install git to do this method as well. So we'll do git bash. This opens this little terminal here. This terminal here I actually have loaded into my IDE, so you can use this or the terminal down here. I'm just going to use this. So we already made a README, so we can skip this line. That's what this thing is. It's just a little file that can give information about your site. So we're going to skip to the next one. We're going to type git init, and that is going to make a new repository. Okay, so initialize empty git repository. Okay, so we already added that. So if I do git status here, now you can see all of the files that are in your Git project. Again, if you don't know Git, don't worry about this, or I recommend looking up some tutorials or something if you are interested in learning. So we need to add our files. So basically when you do git add, you're saying which files you want to, which files you want to be updating on your website or in your repository. So now when I do git status, they're all green here. So I've staged these files. These are ones that I want to be pushed, and so I need to write a commit message. And then this is just saying a little description about what your changes are. So I'm just going to say created a new repository. Okay, and then I want to push these changes there. That's what we just did. Actually, I'm just going to copy this. This is pretty much telling it where to put your code, and I'll paste it in there. So git remote, and I'm adding an origin, which is just where I want this code to go. And the last step is just to do a git push, and this is going to push my changes. Fine, I'll type the whole thing. Oh, I have this on SSH. Ignore this. Okay, now I'm going to push my changes. So just make sure here you have this on HTTPS instead of SSH. Alright, so now this push, so if I refresh this page, you can see our code in here now. And the benefit of this is that I could go to a different computer and pull this code down and work on it somewhere else. And then when I'm done, I could push that code and then go to my other computer and pull it down. So this is a really good way to share code and just keep it kind of backed up. Like, so something happened to your computer, as long as you had your code pushed, you would be fine. Alright, so let's go on to Netlify. I like Netlify because they have good documentation, they have good customer support, and it's not too expensive to use. So you want to make an account just with the sign up. I already have an account, so I'm just gonna log in. Okay, so here are some that I have already set up. So we can do new site from Git. So this is what we would do if we're using a Git project. The second way that I want to show you, other than Git, is to just zip up your website and drag it to here, and I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so new site from Git. So continuous deployment is just that word for what I was describing earlier, when you just push your changes and it automatically updates your website. So that's what we're going to set up. So we made our site with GitHub. If you did either of these two, choose that one. Alright, so you might have to log in. I already have it set up, so it didn't have me log in. And then you can look for the repository. see, what did I name it? Deployment example. Oh, maybe I have to do this. I'm logging into Git. Oh, I have it locked down. Okay, so I'm going to add another repository here. And then hit save. So this is saying which of my repositories Netlify is allowed to mess with. So now this might need a minute. I'm going to refresh the page. Now this is here. Okay, so I'll click on it. Master is the default branch. You can have different branches in a Git project. So we just select the default one there. We don't have any kind of build steps, so we can skip that whole section. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, we don't need that. And then hit deploy site. Alright, so here are some things happening. I really like how Netlify sets this up. So they're in the process of deploying your website, which it looks like it just finished. So let's see. Up here, it gives you this link. It generates you a link for your website by default. So I'm going to open this in a new tab, and there's our website. So now if you open this on your phone or open this on your iPad or whatever, it would load your website. So that's the first way of doing it. The second way you can do it is, we'll go back, let me think. Yeah, instead of doing new site from Git, you could take your folder. So let's go, this is our deployment example here. So instead of using Git, we're going to make it into a zip file. So I'm on Windows. Do this, I think on Mac it's compress. Where is it? Send to deployment example. Okay. And then I'm not going to do this because I already deployed it from Git, but you would just click and drag this over to here and put it in that white place where it's lighting up. So let me make this a little smaller. And then that'll make a new site based on your zip file. Actually, we can just do it. So there, it uploaded it, and there it deployed it. So now we have the zip version here. So now we have two sites. The difference between, or I should say the reason that I like doing it from Git more is that if I do it this way, every time I make my changes, I have to re-upload that whole zip, which can be annoying, and I'm lazy, so the other way works better for me. But if you don't want to learn Git, then you can just do the zip. Alright, let's go back to one of these. This is our first one. Alright, so we did step one. The second step we need to do is set up a custom domain. So right now, this website, or this link, doesn't look super great. It's not something you'd want to probably share with people. It's good for deployment. So we want to set up a custom URL there for it. So they make it kind of easy. I'm not sure how much it is a month actually. Buy a new one. Okay, so you can just buy one here. So let me think what we want it to be. So this has to be unique. So see if anyone has that. It's available. Alright, so to buy this, it's going to be $10.99 a year. So I'm going to get something that I actually want to pay for. So my mom is a caterer, and she might have a website someday, so I'll see if this is available. Cool. Alright, so add a payment method. I'm gonna skip over this section, so just put in your card info, and then we'll resume after I have finished typing. Okay, so I put in my info, and then I'm going to hit register domain now for $10.99, and this will charge you once a year. I should also note that web hosting is a charge every month too. It depends on how big your site is, but it's usually about like $5 to $10 a month. So you are paying for using their space. Okay, so now we have this bot, and you can see there's message here waiting on DNS propagation. So it can take up to a full day before your new domain name actually points to your website. So if I click on this now, I doubt it'll load. Oh wow, that was really quick. Okay, so now Bev Kaufman, my mom's new website, is pointing to my deployed website. That was really fast, actually. Okay, so there are two actual domains that it set up. One is www. And one is just this. So both of those will redirect to this www. This will too, the old one. So you could stop there. You could give out your website now, and people would be able to see it, and it would all be great. A good practice is to add TLS certificates. HTTPS means that your connection to your website is encrypted and it's more secure. So, I mean, you don't really have anything on the websites yet that I think you would want to protect. I mean, if you had a form, that would be better. But normally they're trying to move towards all websites being on HTTPS. And if it's not, and you entered in some information on the site and hit send and it went to a server or something like that, and somebody else was like on the network listening to your web traffic, they would be able to see all of the passwords and everything that you enter. So that's why they always say don't enter your passwords on sites if this not secure thing is here. So you can see that your connection to the site is not secure. But if I go to emilykaufman.com, there's a little lock here. That's because my connection has HTTPS, or TLS. So let's set that up. Let's go through domain validation. Okay, so let's verify DNS. DNS verification was successful, and then provision certificate. Missing certificate. You know what, it has to, I'm almost positive it has to wait for this to be done, but I'm going to refresh the page. See if it's good now. Cool. Okay, it went through, I just had to refresh. So now if I go here, let's see. Nice, we got the little lock. So yeah, now your website is up and running, hopefully. This site, Netlify, has made things so much easier. So what you used to do, and what some people still do, if you are interested in learning about how the servers work and everything, is you can go to AWS or DigitalOcean and just get a server, and then you have to access that server and physically pull down your code and do all the updates on the server and manage it, and it's a lot more work, but it's fun if you are trying to learn more about how it works. Netlify is really cool because it handles almost all of that for you. Another really cool thing that you can do is add forms to your site really easily. So if I go here, we're just going to copy this one that they use. So this is just a basic HTML form, but you can see there's an attribute here called Netlify. and Netlify automatically looks for that attribute and will handle your forms. So if you remember, we used to put on the action and the method. So Netlify, you don't have to do that. Netlify is just going to pick them up. So I'm going to copy this. And I'll jump over here to my index. Okay, so we got a form, takes a name and an email, and then there's a submit button there. So save that. Alright, so now I can show you the first cool way to update your site. So now you can see this index.html. When I did get status, that's the command, it showed that this one changed. So I need to add it to the stuff that I want to commit. So I'll do index.html. Now when I do get status, you can see it turned green, and that means that it's ready to be committed. Added a web form. Now it should be good. Alright, so now I'm going to do a git push. Alright, so it says that it pushed the code, so if I jump over to GitHub, look, here, see our form is now in GitHub, which is cool. And then if I go over here to deploys, you can see it did another deployment at 8:16, that's right now. So what it did was it has these things called hooks that watch the Git project, and it detects when I did that Git push and then automatically triggers a build of your website. So our website's really small, so it went really quickly in 2 seconds. My Emily Kaufman site sometimes takes like up to a minute because I have a lot of crap in it. But if I go over here, this is our old site, and I'm going to refresh it, and now you can see the form. Alright. So now we want to make sure this form is set up. So go back to my site. I'll go here to forms. Let me see if I actually have to set anything up. Maybe not. Alright, I'm just going to try submitting. And because we have this little lock here, our connection is secure. The form information that I send through, people won't be able to read. Like if you're sitting in a Starbucks on Starbucks web internet and it doesn't protect you. So I hit send. By default, it goes to a Netlify form receive thing. I'm pretty sure that's configurable. You could change it to go to your own site that had like a form submission page. But now, let me see if I refresh this. There's our contact form. So I'll click on it. One verified submission at 8:17. That's the one I just did. You can add extra stuff for spam, like the CAPTCHAs and all that stuff. It might be extra, I'm not sure. But if I click on this, you can see the data that I put in. So that's a really cool way of getting a form up and running. If you made a personal site that you want to show off and have employers be able to send you questions, that's a good way of doing it too. You can also get all this information as a CSV file if you wanted to open it like in Excel or something. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That was a lot of information, so I recommend just going through it slowly and pausing it and just seeing if you can get your way through it. If you can't, reach out, let me know where you got stuck, and I can try to help you. Have a good summer.